The massive spaceship appeared on a quiet Tuesday morning. It hung in the sky above New York City like a silver teardrop, its smooth surface reflecting the sunlight. People stopped in the streets, cars came to a halt, and millions of phones pointed upward to capture the historic moment. Inside the United Nations building, Dr. Yoon sat quietly, his hands folded on the table. As Earth's leading expert in theoretical physics, he had imagined this moment many times. But nothing had prepared him for the reality of meeting actual aliens. The alien delegation materialized in the center of the UN Assembly Hall. Their appearance caused a wave of whispers and gasps. Council member He Jin, the lead alien representative, was tall and slender with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer. His large eyes blinked slowly as he looked around the room. "Greetings, people of Earth," He Jin said through a small translation device. "We come as representatives of the Galactic Council, the governing body of over 300 spacefaring species." Dr. Yoon watched as He Jin's expression changed from diplomatic politeness to confusion. The alien was checking some kind of digital tablet, his long fingers moving quickly across its surface. "There must be some mistake," He Jin said suddenly. He turned to his assistants, speaking quickly in their own language. The other aliens looked at their devices, their faces showing clear signs of distress. "Is there a problem?" Dr. Yoon asked, standing up from his seat. He Jin looked at him with what seemed like a mixture of fear and amazement. "According to our records, this planet is classified as a Class 12 Deathworld. The gravity here is 1.5 times higher than standard. Your atmosphere contains corrosive oxygen. You have thousands of venomous species. There are regular natural disasters. And yet, you live here." "This is our home," Dr. Yoon said simply. "We've always lived here." The alien delegation huddled together, speaking in urgent whispers. One of them pulled out a device and began taking readings of the room. His eyes widened as he showed the results to He Jin. "They're not using any protective equipment," the assistant said, his voice shaking. "They're breathing raw oxygen. Their bones and muscles are dense enough to support movement in this gravity. Their immune systems are actively fighting off millions of microscopic threats, and they show no signs of distress." He Jin turned back to the human delegation. "In all our recorded history, we have never encountered beings who could survive such conditions naturally. Most species in the Council would die within minutes on your world without extensive protection." Dr. Yoon couldn't help but smile. "We had no idea we were so unusual. For us, Earth is perfectly comfortable. Perhaps you would like to see more of how we live." The suggestion caused visible panic among the alien delegation. He Jin's blue skin paled slightly. "You mean, go outside, into your unfiltered environment?" "Of course," Dr. Yoon said. "We could show you our cities, our farms, our natural parks. It's a beautiful spring day." "Spring?" He Jin checked his tablet again. "You mean your planet is currently in its cycle of explosive plant reproduction, releasing billions of allergenic spores into your corrosive atmosphere. The flowers are particularly nice this time of year," Dr. Yoon added, trying not to laugh at the alien's growing horror. He Jin straightened himself, trying to maintain his diplomatic composure. "The Galactic Council will need to reassess its protocols for interaction with your species. We had no idea we would be dealing with beings of such extreme capabilities." As the aliens prepared to leave, He Jin turned to Dr. Yoon one last time. "Your people have achieved spaceflight, correct?" "Yes, we've been exploring our solar system." "Then I must warn you. Please do not leave your world without notifying us first. The thought of beings with your capabilities freely moving through normal space is—" He paused, searching for the right word. "Concerning." After the aliens disappeared, Dr. Yoon sat back down, thinking about what had just happened. Humans had always thought they would be the ones amazed by alien life. Instead, they were the ones being viewed as almost supernatural beings. He wondered what would happen when humanity finally did leave their death world and venture into the galaxy. One thing was certain: the galaxy wasn't ready for humans. 1 month after first contact, Council scientist Jeho arrived at the United Nations Medical Center in his protective suit. The transparent bubble around his head made him look like a deep-sea diver. Dr. Yoon watched as the alien scientist carefully set up his equipment, double-checking every seal and safety measure. "Are you sure you don't want to take off the suit?" Dr. Yoon asked. "Our air is perfectly safe." Jeho shook his head inside his bubble. "With respect, Doctor, I have seen what your safe air does to metal. Pure oxygen is highly corrosive where I come from." The first test subject walked in, a human Olympic athlete named Taiwan. Jeho's instruments hummed as they scanned the human's body. "Impossible," Jeho muttered, checking the readings again. "Your muscle density is incredible. And your bones, they're reinforced like support beams in a gravity well." "I just work out regularly," Taiwan said with a shrug. Jeho's next shock came when he tested Taiwan's endurance. The human ran on a treadmill for 2 hours straight, barely breaking a sweat. The alien scientist's hands shook as he recorded the data. "Your species can just keep moving for hours?" Jeho asked in disbelief. "Sure," Taiwan said, taking the drink of water. "Humans used to hunt by chasing animals until they got tired. Some people still run marathons for fun." The word "fun" made Jeho drop his tablet. The tests continued throughout the day. Jeho discovered that humans could heal from cuts and breaks that would be fatal to most species. They could eat foods that would poison others. They could survive temperature changes that would kill most galactic citizens. But the biggest surprise came during lunch break. Dr. Yoon was eating a sandwich when alarms suddenly blared from Jeho's equipment. The alien scientist rushed over in panic. "You're consuming capsaicin," Jeho shouted, pointing at the hot sauce on Dr. Yoon's sandwich. "That's a deadly neurotoxin." "Oh, this." Dr. Yoon took another bite. "It's just sriracha sauce. Makes the sandwich taste better." Jeho had to sit down. He spent several minutes breathing deeply before he could speak again. "Your species," he said slowly, "deliberately eats poison. For pleasure. Wait until you hear about coffee," Taiwan said with a grin. That evening, Jeho sent his preliminary report to the Galactic Council. His hands were still shaking as he typed. "Humans are unlike anything we have encountered. Their bodies are built to survive conditions we consider lethal. They can endure physical stress that would break our strongest materials. They eat toxins for enjoyment. They deliberately expose themselves to radiation for cosmetic tanning. They exercise in ways that would shatter our bones." He paused, then added, "Most concerning of all, they seem completely unaware of how extraordinary they are. To them, living on a Class 12 Deathworld is normal." The response from the Council came quickly. "Recommend immediate quarantine of human species." But Jeho looked through his protective bubble at Dr. Yoon and Taiwan, who were calmly discussing dinner plans. After a day of watching humans casually defy what he thought was possible, he added one final note to his report. "The humans cannot be contained. They have already mastered spaceflight. They are expanding. They are exploring. And they are doing it all while living in conditions that we consider impossible. We must learn to accept them, because we certainly cannot stop them." In the days that followed, Jeho's report caused panic throughout the Galactic Council. But as Dr. Yoon had predicted, this was just the beginning. Humanity's relationship with the galaxy was about to change forever. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with nervous energy. Ambassador Sunmut stood before the gathered representatives, her voice steady despite the concerned whispers around her. Unlike the other council members who watched from sealed environmental pods, she chose to stand in the open air. "My fellow council members," she began, "I have spent 3 Earth months studying humans. Yes, they are different from us. Yes, they are strong. But they are also kind, curious, and willing to learn." The whispers grew louder. A council member's voice rose above the others. They eat poison for pleasure. Sun Ma smiled. They also create beautiful art, compose moving music, and care deeply for their young. They heal the sick, help the weak, and protect other species on their world. She pressed a button, and images appeared in the air above her. They showed humans helping injured animals, teaching children, planting trees, and cleaning oceans. But they are dangerous. Another council member shouted. Did you see the report? They can break bones with their bare hands. Those same strong hands also perform delicate surgery. Sun Ma countered. They build tiny machines and create detailed crafts. Humans use their strength to help, not harm. The council chamber fell silent as Supreme Council Leader Du-Ha rose from his seat. His environmental pod hummed softly as it moved forward. Ambassador Sun Ma, he said, his voice grave. You suggest we invite these Deathworlders to our capital, the very heart of our civilization. Yes, Sun Ma said firmly. Let them show you who they really are. Let them prove they can be gentle despite their strength. Back on Earth, Dr. Yum received the news with surprise. The Galactic Council wanted to meet humans in person. They requested a small delegation to visit their capital city. There are conditions, Ho Jin explained through his translator. You must agree to certain safety protocols. Dr. Yum read through the list. No sudden movements. No physical contact with other species. No eating in public. No demonstrations of human physical capabilities without approval. They're afraid of us, Tadwan said, reading over Dr. Yun's shoulder. They think we're monsters. Then we'll show them we're not, Dr. Yun replied. He signed the agreement. The preparation for the visit was intense. The human delegation spent weeks learning about different alien species and their customs. They practiced moving slowly, speaking softly, and always staying calm. Finally, the day arrived. The human delegation, Dr. Yun, Tadwan, and 3 other carefully chosen representatives, stood before their transport ship. They wore simple clothes made of special material that wouldn't alarm other species. Remember, He Jin said as they boarded, many species have never seen a Deathworlder before. They don't know that humans can be peaceful. Everything you do will shape how the galaxy sees your entire species. As the ship lifted off, Dr. Yun looked back at Earth growing smaller below them. He thought about Sun Ma, the alien ambassador who had fought for this chance. He thought about all the species waiting at the capital, terrified of meeting their first humans. We'll show them, he said quietly. We'll show them that being strong doesn't mean being scary. We'll show them what humanity really is. The ship entered faster than light travel, carrying its human passengers toward their greatest diplomatic challenge yet. The galactic capital awaited them, and with it, the chance to change the galaxy's view of humanity forever. The galactic capital was built inside an enormous space station. When the human delegation arrived, Council member Minji was waiting to greet them. She watched through safety cameras as their ship docked. Remember the safety protocols, she told her staff. No direct contact. Keep all protective barriers active. The airlock door opened. Dr. Yun led his team out, walking slowly and carefully as they had practiced. Minji noticed how smoothly they moved despite the station's lighter gravity. Welcome to Capital Station, she said through an environmental shield. We have prepared special quarters for you with Earth normal conditions. Dr. Yun bowed politely. Thank you for your hospitality, but we can adapt to your standard environment. Humans are quite flexible. Minji's translator took a moment to process this. You would willingly stay in non-Earth conditions. Of course, Dr. Yun replied. We're here to learn about your way of life. The first sign of trouble came during the station tour. The human delegation passed through a garden area where delicate crystal flowers grew. These flowers were famous for their beauty, but would shatter at the slightest touch. Please maintain distance, Minji warned. These crystal blooms are extremely fragile. Just then, another visitor bumped into Taiwan from behind. Without thinking, Taiwan caught one of the crystal flowers as it fell. The entire room froze in horror. But the flower didn't break. Taiwan's quick reflexes and gentle touch had saved it. He carefully placed it back on its stem. "I'm so sorry," he said. "I hope I didn't damage it." Minji stared in disbelief. The strength to crush the flower was there, but so was the control to save it. Perhaps these humans were more than just powerful beings from a deadly world. The next surprise came during a diplomatic dinner. The humans were given their own sealed room to eat, but they could see other species through transparent walls. Council member Minji watched in amazement as Dr. Yoon used eating utensils designed for species with much weaker hands. "How can you control such fine movements?" she asked through the communication system. "Our reports say your muscles are incredibly dense." Dr. Yoon demonstrated by picking up a single grain of rice with his chopsticks. "Strength doesn't mean we can't be gentle," he explained. Humans learn to control their abilities from childhood. The final shock came during an emergency drill. A warning siren sounded, and the station's gravity briefly fluctuated. While other species grabbed for support rails, the humans simply adjusted their stance and helped steady nearby delegates. "You adapted instantly," Minji said afterward. "No dizziness, no disorientation." "We're used to changing conditions on Earth," Dr. Yoon explained. "Our planet's gravity isn't perfectly uniform, and we deal with many different environments." That evening, Minji sent a message to the council. "The humans continue to surprise us. Yes, they are powerful beyond our normal experience, but they show remarkable control and adaptation. They can be gentle with delicate objects, adjust to different environments, and help others without causing harm. Perhaps we have been too quick to judge them based on their physical capabilities alone." As she finished her report, Minji watched through her office window as Dr. Yoon taught some young aliens how to make paper cranes. His strong hands folded the delicate paper with perfect precision, while the children watched in wonder. The galaxy was beginning to see a new side of humanity, not just their strength, but their skill, their control, and their desire to connect with others. The 5th day of the human delegation's visit started normally. Dr. Yoon was attending a science conference while Taiwan observed security procedures. Then the station's emergency alarms activated. Red lights flashed throughout the capital station. The main computer's voice echoed through every corridor. "Warning. Environmental system failure detected. Main life support compromised. Station atmosphere becoming unstable." Panic spread quickly. Most species on the station needed carefully controlled conditions to survive. Even small changes in temperature, pressure, or air composition could be fatal to them. Council member Minji rushed to the emergency control center. The screen showed rising temperature levels and failing air filters. "How long until backup systems engage?" she asked. "They're not responding," a technician reported. "The primary control room is locked down. Temperature inside is approaching dangerous levels for our engineers." Dr. Yoon stepped forward. "Let us help. Humans can handle extreme conditions." Minji hesitated. The human delegation wasn't authorized to enter restricted areas. But more warning lights were turning red on her screen. "The environmental system will completely fail in 30 minutes, the technician announced. "We're running out of time." "Let them try," Ambassador Sunmai urged. "Humans survive worse conditions on Earth every day." Minji made her decision. "Dr. Yoon, what do you need?" "I'll need Taiwan and access to your engineering systems," he replied. "And please don't panic when you see our readings on your monitors. We'll be fine." The security doors opened. Dr. Yoon and Taiwan entered the overheating control room, while other species watched through safety windows. The temperature was now high enough to cook food. "Readings from human biomonitors are exceeding safety limits," someone shouted. "That's normal for us," Taiwan said as he opened a maintenance panel. "Humans call this a hot summer day." They worked quickly. Dr. Yoon's knowledge of physics helped him understand the station's systems. Taiwan's strength let him repair damaged components that would normally require mechanical assistance. The minutes ticked by. Warning sirens continued to blare. Through the windows, Minji watched in amazement as the humans kept working despite conditions that would have killed most species. "They're sweating," she observed. "Their bodies are actually cooling themselves." 28 minutes since system failure, the computer announced. "Environmental collapse imminent." Dr. Yoon's voice came through the comm system. "We found the problem. Power coupling burned out and safety systems locked up. Taiwan is replacing it now. But those couplings are too hot to touch." Minji protested. "We're using our jackets as heat shields," Dr. Yoon explained calmly. "Like I said, we'll be fine." Suddenly, the warning lights turned green. Cool air began flowing again. The computer announced. Environmental systems restored to normal operation. When the humans emerged from the control room, their clothes were soaked with sweat, but they were smiling. The gathered crowd stared at them in silence. "Thank you for letting us help," Dr. Yoon said simply. Minji found her voice first. "You saved the station. You saved all of us." "Those conditions would have killed any other species," Sun Mai added. "But you treated it like a normal workday." "On Earth, emergency workers face conditions like this often," Taiwan explained. "Firefighters, rescue teams, disaster response units. Humans are good at handling crises." That evening, the council held an emergency session. The humans had proven that their Deathworld adaptations weren't just fascinating. They were invaluable. The galaxy needed their unique abilities. 3 days after the environmental crisis, council researcher Hyunwoo presented his findings to the Galactic Council. The Grand Chamber was packed with representatives from hundreds of worlds, all eager to hear about the humans. "Distinguished council members," Hyunwoo began, standing at the central podium. "The recent crisis has shown us something important. What we thought was a problem might actually be our greatest opportunity." He displayed images from the station's emergency. The screen showed Dr. Yoon and Taiwan working in conditions that would kill most species. Many council members shifted uncomfortably in their environmental pods. "Humans don't just survive on their death world," Hyunwoo continued. "They thrive there. They have built cities in deserts, settlements in frozen wastelands, and homes in dense jungles. They explore deep oceans and tall mountains. Where we see danger, they see challenge. Where we see impossible conditions, they see opportunity." Ambassador Sunme stood up to support him. "During the crisis, 2 humans did what an entire team of our engineers couldn't. Not because our engineers lacked skill, but because humans can work in conditions that would harm the rest of us." The Supreme Council leader, Duho, raised his hand. "Are you suggesting we allow humans free access to the galaxy after seeing their capabilities?" "Yes," Hyunwoo replied firmly. "But not because they're strong, because they're careful with their strength." He played a new video. It showed Dr. Yoon in the station's medical bay, using his steady hands to repair a delicate medical device. Another clip showed Taiwan teaching young aliens how to move safely in changing gravity. "Humans call it gentle giant syndrome," Hyunwoo explained. "The stronger you are, the more carefully you must act. They have spent generations learning this lesson." Minji added her voice to the discussion. "I watched them during the crisis. They had the strength to break through walls, but they chose to carefully open panels. They had the endurance to ignore the heat, but they still followed safety protocols. They are not mindless, powerful beings. They are thoughtful, careful, and controlled." Hyunwoo brought up his final presentation. "I propose we create a joint human galactic emergency response force. There are many places in our galaxy too dangerous for most species to help. Humans could reach those places, save those lives, solve those problems." Dr. Yoon stepped forward when invited to speak. The council members watched nervously as the human approached the podium. "We don't want to frighten anyone," he said softly. "We want to help. On Earth, our strength comes with responsibility. The strong must protect the weak. The capable must help those in need. This is what we teach our children." A young council member spoke up. "But what do humans want in return?" Dr. Yoon smiled. "Knowledge. Friendship, the chance to learn about new worlds and new peoples. Humans are explorers at heart. We climb mountains not because they're easy, but because they're hard. We want to challenge ourselves to grow, to understand. The council chamber fell silent as everyone considered these words. Finally, Supreme Leader Dua spoke. Perhaps, he said slowly, we have been looking at this wrongly. We saw the danger of human strength without seeing the wisdom of human restraint. We saw their physical power without seeing their moral power. Hyunwoo nodded. The galaxy needs humans, not despite their abilities, but because of them. Together, we could reach places and help people we never could before. The revelation was spreading through the council. Humans weren't just survivors from a deadly world. They were partners who could help build a better galaxy for everyone. 6 months after the environmental crisis at Capital Station, the galaxy had changed. Humans were now a common sight at major spaceports. Their unique abilities made them valuable members of various teams across the galaxy. Young human pioneer Du Hyun stood at the entrance of an unexplored cave system on the planet Kepler 186f. The planet's high gravity and toxic atmosphere made it impossible for most species to explore. But to Du Hyun, it felt almost like home. Readings show multiple rare mineral deposits inside, he reported through his communication device. The cave structure appears stable. I'm proceeding with the exploration. Back at Capital Station, Dr. Yoon watched the feed from Du Hyun's cameras with a group of council scientists. They had learned to trust human judgment in dangerous situations. The human ability to assess risk is remarkable, one scientist noted. They can tell the difference between acceptable and unacceptable danger almost instinctively. In another part of the galaxy, Taiwan led a rescue mission to a mining colony. A massive earthquake had trapped workers deep underground. The unstable gravity and crushing pressure meant only humans could safely reach them. We've located the miners, Taiwan reported as his team made their way through the collapsed tunnels. All life signs are stable, beginning extraction now. Ambassador Sun Mi shared these success stories with the council. Humans have participated in 37 rescue operations in the past 6 months. They have discovered 12 new mineral deposits too dangerous for our regular teams to reach. They have repaired 15 critical facilities in extreme environments. The Council's attitude toward humans had shifted dramatically. Where they once saw threatening Deathworlders, they now saw invaluable allies. Human embassies opened on multiple worlds. Special human sections were added to space stations and colonies. Dr. Yoon's team developed new technologies that combined human resilience with alien scientific knowledge. They created improved environmental suits that let other species work alongside humans in harsh conditions. They designed new emergency protocols that took advantage of human abilities. The humans have exceeded our highest expectations, Minji reported to the council. They are careful with their strength, generous with their capabilities, and eager to learn our ways while sharing their own. One day, a group of young aliens visited Earth as part of a cultural exchange program. They wore protective suits, but their fear had been replaced by curiosity. They watched in amazement as humans went about their daily lives in conditions their species considered lethal. How do you live with such dangers? One young alien asked their human guide. We don't see them as dangers, the guide explained. Earth taught us to be strong, but it also taught us to be careful, to help each other, to protect those who need protection. These are the real lessons of our Deathworld. The integration of humans into galactic society continued steadily. They became known not just for their physical capabilities, but for their problem-solving skills, their adaptability, and their willingness to help others. Do Hyun emerged from the cave system with samples of rare minerals that would advance galactic technology by decades. Taiwan's team rescued all the trapped miners without a single casualty. Dr. Yoon's research opened new possibilities for interspecies cooperation. The galaxy was learning that the greatest strength of humans wasn't their ability to survive on a Deathworld. It was their determination to use that strength to help others thrive. 1 year after first contact, the Galactic Council gathered for a historic session. The Great Chamber looked different now. Environmental pods sat next to open seats. Some species had learned to tolerate conditions closer to human normal, while humans had learned to respect the environmental needs of others. Supreme Council leader Duha stood at the podium, his environmental pod gleaming under the chamber lights. "Today marks a significant moment in galactic history," he announced. "We are here to formally recognize Earth's special status and establish the Department of Extreme Environment Operations." Dr. Yoon and He Jin stepped forward together. They had been chosen to lead this new department, symbolizing the partnership between humans and the galactic community. "When we first discovered humans," He Jin said, "we feared their abilities. We called Earth a death world. We worried about what humans might do to our civilized galaxy." He turned to Dr. Yoon with a respectful nod. "We were wrong." Dr. Yoon addressed the council next. "A year ago, we didn't know we were different. We thought our world was normal. Now we understand that our strength comes with responsibility. Our abilities give us the chance to help others." The screens around the chamber displayed images from the past year. Humans rescuing trapped space crews, exploring dangerous but resource-rich planets, repairing crucial facilities in extreme conditions. Each image showed humans working carefully alongside other species. "The Department of Extreme Environment Operations will coordinate human teams across the galaxy," Dr. Yoon explained. "We will help explore places others cannot reach. We will respond to emergencies in dangerous conditions. We will use our abilities to make the galaxy safer for everyone." Ambassador Sun Mei presented the next proposal. "We have also learned from humans. Their protective instincts, their careful control of their strength, their desire to help others. These are qualities we should all admire." The council voted unanimously to approve the new department. They also approved a program to establish human emergency response teams on major worlds and stations. In the observation gallery, Ta-1 sat with Do-hyun, watching the proceedings. "Remember when they were afraid to let us walk around without supervision?" Ta-1 asked with a smile. "Now they're asking us to teach their rescue teams," Do-hyun replied. Things changed quickly. The ceremony continued as Dr. Yoon and He Jin took their oaths as department leaders. Their first task would be to establish training centers where humans could teach other species how to work safely in challenging conditions. "We are entering a new era," Supreme Leader Duha concluded, "one where the very qualities that once frightened us now give us hope. The human strength, their resilience, their adaptability. These are gifts to be celebrated, not feared." As the ceremony ended, Dr. Yoon looked out at the assembled representatives of hundreds of worlds. He remembered the first day when He Jin had appeared at the United Nations, horrified to find humans living on a death world. Now He Jin was his partner in building a safer galaxy. "Earth will always be a death world to most species," Dr. Yoon said in his closing remarks. "But it taught us valuable lessons. It taught us to be strong but gentle, to be powerful but careful, to help those who need our help. These are the true gifts of our world, and we are honored to share them with the galaxy." The council session concluded with the signing of the Earth Recognition Treaty. The document began with words that would be remembered for generations. "In recognizing the unique capabilities of humanity, we also recognize the responsibility that comes with such gifts. Together, we move forward into a future where differences in ability become opportunities for cooperation, not causes for fear."